Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Style Esports Season 5, where we're bringing you 5 minutes late versus Team Death Realm. It is I, Diatripa, on the desk as play-by-play, and joining me is Jarl Carl, our favorite colorcaster here at Style Esports. We're already into the draft, and I see a no ban that was in fact Shen being brought up. A little bit of top lane focus as Shen and Darius both taken away, more than we normally see.
Indeed, the Darius a little bit of a more fringe ban. I think the Shen and Hecarim very, very standard. Can be played in the top lane, the horse as well. Also, it's good to be with you, Diatripa. My first time on the desk alongside yourself. Also, 5 minutes late, living up to the name backwards. Instead of being 5 minutes late, they hit the ready button 5 minutes early. So we're coming at you a little bit before our scheduled start time, but that's just the sooner we can get into these games. Zoe taken off the table, and I, for one, cannot complain about that. That champion is very obnoxious.
Yeah, and I think that the reason she's taken off the table, right, is that very same obnoxiousness in the game and her ability to sort of fish for these conditional engages, something that maybe we're going to see a little bit more commitment this game, because Zoe's ability to sort of play a middle game of I don't really want to engage until it suits me is something that Team Death Realm maybe want to take off the table so that they can start making decisive plays themselves.
Indeed, the Ashe picked up first for 5 minutes late, still in that prominent tier of AD carries, Ashe, Caitlyn, Senna. The Caitlyn actually received some relatively heavy nerfs in this patch, which I'm almost certain is live right now for us. So a little bit surprised actually to see her banned away. Ashe, Senna, I think going to be kind of the new Ashe, Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn pretty much lower in the tier list right now after the movement speed nerfs and the attack speed, or the attack speed and attack damage, I should say, being removed. Essentially, all of the buffs that put her to this prominence are now gone. I think Caitlyn's going to go back to where she used to be, of being kind of a fringe, really off-meta pick.
Yeah, and now that Senna is being picked up as well, I'm actually surprised that the nerfs didn't affect her pick rate either, because I felt like the amount of souls that you're getting as the game goes on, obviously taken down from that 6% mark to 4% mark on minions, I feel like it's actually really big because range is such a huge factor for Senna as we approach the late game.
Yeah, it is. The range is the major reason that this champion, I think, is super OP in the late game. You end up with those wild, 900 range auto attacks that take half of somebody's health, and you're like, what's happening? With a rapid fire cannon on the table. I like the Tahm Kench alongside Senna as well. He synergizes very well with her, provides her some mobility that she really doesn't have in kit. You can make some fun plays with the Abyssal Voyage. Also, the Shroud can hide Tahm Kench. Maybe there's somebody in his belly. There's weird interactions you can do with that. And you don't need an Enchanter support with Senna since you can't increase the attack speed. It's kind of like Jhin. You want something that's more utility or damage based, just because those Enchanter shields aren't going to apply the same level of power with an Ardent Sensor or something, just because that attack speed is capped. I like the Leona Maokai on the other side, a very strong front line. Senna does not do well shredding through tanks, just because she's mostly, those really slow auto attacks. She doesn't build a lot of armor penetration, more in the favor of lethality. So I like the comp so far from 5 minutes late. I think the Ashe Leona lane, also very aggressive, should be able to go toe-to-toe with the Senna Tahm Kench.
Yeah, and Ashe going to be able to put out a lot of the damage in the late game, be able to play a really front-back team fight very well, 5 minutes late setting themselves up really well for that, whereas Team Death Realm have a little bit of a safe composition, at least for lane, with the Senna Tahm Kench being picked up, Urgot in the top lane, maybe something that Senna's looking to enable as they craft a team fight of their own.
Indeed, I like the Urgot pick. I think it's, not super common in the meta right now, but I think it does do well against, this relatively tanky champions up in the top lane, like the Maokai, like a Scion, can really shred through them with that W, just constantly chewing them down with those bolts. If you have some armor shred coming through on a Black Cleaver or something, can do a lot of damage and provides a lot of team fight power as well. If you're able to get the Fear Beyond Death through, get a massive fear, wherever you are in the fight, they made it. You can pull somebody in, then flash and go for the fear as well. There's a lot of interesting things that can happen with Urgot. I think has a lot higher skill ceiling than a lot of people recognize.
Yeah, especially in those team fights. Lane-wise, I feel like is going to be a pretty dominant pick that you can sort of execute on relatively mindlessly, but in the team fights and bringing that sort of potential that you talked about of bringing really large CC into a team fight, creating a lot of space, are going to be pretty high skill cap, and I'm going to be looking for Bargrill to be able to execute on that, as I assume that it's going into the top lane.
One would hope. You never know, right? We've seen some weird flexes going on in this league. I think so far both these teams are set up to have very, very strong front lines and not a lot of shred. I think we could see very long, relatively drawn-out team fights with both sides really trying to assassinate those backliners. The Ashe, the Senna, the only members that are, anywhere close to going down quickly right now. Urgot, Volibear, Tahm Kench, Leona, Maokai, all these champions can survive for a very long time. Many of them have a lot of sustain in the kit as well. Urgot, Tahm, and Maokai, they all have shields. Leona can give herself some AD or some armor and magic resist, I should say. Maokai heals a lot, so there's a lot of sustain. I think these could be very brawlish team fights.
Yeah, and now that the Syndra is going to be picked up, as you mentioned, trying to burst down a member of Team Death Realm, I don't think that there are a lot of really viable targets here. The Senna, maybe the one that is going to be furthest in the backline, and giving you that backline access, it's going to be the Vi picked up for 5 minutes late.
Another somewhat fringe jungler, I think, coming back into a little bit of prominence. I've seen it a couple of times in amateur games a little bit recently, kind of a somewhat similar version of Lee Sin. Another champion that I realized the other day I haven't seen in a very long time is Lee Sin. Vi, kind of that Jarvan Vi, Lee Sin style of aggressive early game junglers. Kind of like to see it. I think she's going to have a lot of trouble late game getting anything done. Potentially the strategy to try to use the Assault and Battery onto a Senna and go for the one shot with the Syndra and Ashe. I don't think that's going to be that effective with the Tahm Kench. I think the Tahm Kench for TDR is really the star pick of this draft. Can save his teammates, mostly the Senna from honestly a lot of CC chain that they want to have coming through from the side of 5 minutes late. They want the Ashe Arrow, Syndra stun into the one shot and the Vial. All those are canceled out very, very easily by the Tahm Kench eat.
Yeah, and additionally, if you do manage to bait that out early enough, if you're not going on to Senna and she's somehow safe, I don't really think that there are a lot of other targets that you feel comfortable investing all that burst into as 5 minutes late. Volibear, Urgot, Sylas even are going to be champions that are difficult to burst down very quickly. Sylas especially going more of a bruiser mage style. So 5 minutes late, I feel like they require a little bit of a lead in this game in order to execute this out. If we end up going really even, TDR going to have a really nice mid game under their belt.
Yeah, I would strongly agree with that. I just think 5 minutes late, they don't have a lot of win conditions in team fights. I think it's somewhat hard to draw a scenario where they're able to really come out with a decisive advantage in these fights just because of the sustains on the side of TDR. Almost every member can heal himself. Tahm Kench with the gray health, Senna has the heal from her Q, Urgot with the Conqueror proc, Sylas of course heals randomly to full health essentially in fights, and if you look at the damage for 5 minutes late, it's mostly just Ashe and Syndra. Sure, Vi does some damage, especially in the early game, but she's not going to be likely building a full damage build, going to fall off in that regard. The Ashe mostly rely on a Blade of the Ruin King and a lot of auto attacks to try to get through this team for Team Death Realm, and I don't honestly think that she's going to be able to do it. I think 5 minutes late need to get very far ahead in the early game. This needs to be a very short game, because if TDR get multiple items under the belt, this Ashe is going to become useless.
Yeah, and I would have liked to pick up, if they were going to for a style like this, something like a Lulu with the Ashe, who can enable her to become more of that late game team fight threat. That honestly, we see any AD carry with Lulu is really going to start feeling good, but not having that I think is really important. And TDR, I think, as much as we talk about them having a really nice mid game, they don't have a lot of ability to make plays in the early game.
No, I think they these teams don't have that much playmaking overall, just because there's a lot of disengage for the side of TDR. How are you going to be going for the gank on the bot lane? Tahm Kench is probably just going to walk away with the Senna. And so a lot of that early game prowess that you would think of, Leona engaging, Maokai engaging, Vi going in, is pretty strong. I think it can be relatively effectively countered out by TDR. The Urgot has the dash away, just generally is pretty tanky. Tahm Kench, randomly makes people escape. And Sylas is just really slippery, right? He heals up randomly, goes for 1v2, steals your ultimate, and then really, makes your life hard. And I think TDR, a lot of their engage potential is going to come from Sylas stealing a key ultimate, stealing the Vi ult, stealing the Ashe ult, the Maokai ult, the Leona ult. All of those are very strong engage ultimates. And so I think a lot of TDR's team fight, starting relies on either an Abyssal Voyage from the Tahm Kench or some kind of a really cool hijack play by Sylas. Again, that was, not again, but for the first time, that was buffed this patch, especially later on in the game. That cooldown gets very, very low.
Yeah, and it is really scary, actually, the amount of good ultimates that Sylas has with the reduced cooldown that he has on the steal, as well as the fact that really I don't feel like there are any awful ultimates to steal on 5 minutes late as the game starts to go further and further, and the engage is more and more needed by Team Death Realm. I don't really think that there are a lot of bad engage tools that he can take away. So I'm going to be looking a lot at Escanor during the mid game mid-late game to start getting these fights going.
Absolutely. Max rank on the Sylas ultimate, I believe, is a 40-second cooldown now. If you take into account 40% cooldown reduction on that, you're looking at about a 25-second Sylas ultimate. And So that's the kind of situation where, at the start of a fight, maybe you find a pick, Tom Kench gets onto somebody, you steal the Cinderall, you one-shot somebody, right? You find the Ashe, boom, Cinderall instantly. A lot of scaling will come through. Damage should be quite high there. And then by the end of the fight, you can steal somebody else's ultimate, right? 25 seconds is not that long for a full late game team fight, especially if it is a brawly style game, like I do think that we're going to have. I think it's very realistic we could see multiple ultimates coming through from Sylas in this game. And I think for TDR, especially if the game's closed, those ultimates really could be the kind of turning point in these fights, whether they're going to be able to win or come out defeated.
Yeah, and I think that during the laning phase, we also have to keep an eye on that Sylas, who can be kept down by Cashew. The Syndra pick, as much as it maybe didn't jive with the team comp, might be a comfort pick. And we might see actually a lot of that, even with Coconut picking up the Vi into the composition that they already knew was coming out of Team Death Realm. I think that we may see a lot of very comfortable play from 5 minutes late, and that they might be looking for that to be their edge. So it's something that I want to kind of keep an eye on as we do get to know these teams and these players even more.
Absolutely, kind of like we've alluded to a little bit. Neither of these teams have played this season. Yeah, this is the inaugural game for them. 5 minutes late used to be known as Wakandan Overlords, for those that have been following Style Esports for a little while. And some name changes came through. All of the players with the FNG tag have switched names. They're the same players that you know and love, just changed up a little bit. We have King Riveris. The names are escaping me, but I will figure out those when I throw it back over to Diatriba, but they are the same players from Wakandan Overlords. They have just changed the names just a little bit.
Yeah, and actually, thank you for throwing it back, because I actually have to throw it to a break as the spectator delay is going to tick down. We're going to be getting into the game right after a really short break, when we'll be bringing you Game 1 of 5 minutes late versus Team Death Realm. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to 5 Minutes Late versus Team Death Realm. This is the game one that we've prepared for in the pro draft. We mentioned that maybe 5 Minutes Late having a little bit of an awkward team composition. And so, Jarl, my question to you is that in a situation like this, where do we want to see Coconut going as we start off this game to try and create advantages for his team enough that they can snowball to victory?
Hopefully we can get the answer off in time. We'll see what happens with this invade. Very briefly, I want to see Coconut in the mid lane, trying to get this Syndra ahead. I think Syndra is probably the win condition for this team as the invade kind of fizzles out. I think realistically, if you actually want to be winning these late game team fights, you need the Syndra AoE damage. You want the Qs to come through, the Ws coming through with true damage, a massive ultimate. I don't think Acorn being ahead is going to be enough. There's too many threats to this Ashe, to my mind, in these fights, the Silas, the Volibear, as well as that Urgot jumping in, whereas the Syndra, she has that Scout of the Week, she can protect herself a little bit better and just has overall more AoE damage, which this team is going to need. I think the mid lane is the place that Coconut needs to focus, not so much as to set Escanor behind, because Silas is very hard to set behind, but I think you want to send that Vi to the mid lane, to get this Syndra ahead, because if she gets rolling, I do think that 5 Minutes Late can win this game.
Yeah, we've rolled on against Syndras that are ahead, and that's going to be absolutely terrifying. Additionally, obviously, with something like an Ashe, the more that the other team, Team Death Realm, have to build something like Magic Resist is going to feel better for her, who wants to be able to shred through those tanks. So we're looking to see Coconut pay a little bit of attention to this mid lane, as Syndra's going to have a little bit of an inherent advantage early with her range.
Yeah, absolutely, right. It is that range versus melee, although, of course, eventually the Silas starts to feel like a ranged champion given the mobility he has, but this is something you also want to do if you want to get ahead. Cashew needs to be bullying early. Volibear, not a super strong, level 3 ganker, can put the lightning behind you and go for a stun with a flash or something, but most junglers can come with some kind of very forcing play like that. Volibear not renowned as an early game jungler for those ganks, so I think Syndra has an opportunity here to kind of bully the Silas out. I think smart that he went for the Corrupting Pot to just kind of sustain up a little bit in this early game.
Yeah, Corrupting Pot and Biscuits for Escanor here, as he gets taken a little bit lower, does have the ability to heal a little bit once he hits that level 3 and getting poked quite low, but because he's taken the Biscuits and the Corrupting Pot that you mentioned, not going to be hurting too much after that trade.
Yeah, definitely not. We are going to see Coconut in the top lane, ditching my advice, might be looking for a gank up here on Bar Grill. We'll see if Ingvar can set it up. Also the mid. Yeah,
it looks like Gotti heard you here as he shows up in the mid lane trying to get something done onto the Syndra, because she's going to throw in an early back here, maybe looking to get a cheater recall off, create an advantage, as in the top lane we see Coconut. He's going on a Bar Grill, but Ingvar doesn't have that much health behind him. Bar Grill could be taken down. It's quite close, but Coconut walks away with the first blood, and that's a Vi that's gotten rolling.
In the end, a successful gank. Ingvar, looked like he was on the edge of going down there, but does keep himself alive. Everybody keeps their summoners up as well. I think smart of Bargo not to force that. A little bit of jungler interaction here. I don't think that's going to go very far.
Yeah, Gotti is still a relatively a nice early skirmisher, I'll say, on the Volibear, being able to take those short trades, has the shield to his name, and now that we see the Syndra roaming in, he will grab the Scuttle Crab for himself, and it's going to be a battle of the bottom Scuttle Crab in case Gotti wants to try and double.
Indeed, they are going to likely meet down there, but back to the point about that first gank, everybody keeps himself alive. Ingvar nicely played. Coconut gets the first blood for himself. Would like to see him, of course, transition that lead towards his laners. Vi is not going to be carrying this game by any stretch of the imagination. Off that first recall could be very, very strong. The level 6 gank, I would like to see that, like we said earlier, targeted in the mid lane, or they may try to just get Bar Grill very, very far behind. I don't think that's really the right strategy, just because the Maokai also not going to carry your game.
Yeah, and I think that it's really nice, like you mentioned, that Vi has gotten that kill, because the more damage that she's able to bring into a Syndra lane, for example, the less that Syndra has to do work with that early scout, with her early unleashed power that isn't necessarily going to be 100-0ing somebody early on in the game, and can start to get her snowballing. So there's still potential for this win condition to play out, even if Vi didn't show mid lane in the first 4 minutes.
Absolutely. She has gotten reasonably behind in farm. Actually, Gotti has just been completely hard farming, cleared most of his camps, a very large CS lead for himself, as he might now be looking for a gank in the mid lane on the Syndra.
It's another repeat gank on Cashew. Still has the flash available, though, as well as the Scatter of the Week. Will buy a little bit of time. Stun's coming up to both, and flash can be extended by Cashew. Escanor still looking for this. Has the abscond available very soon. Chain Lash, gonna whip a little bit, but there's the abscond straight onto Cashew. That's gonna be him going down in a little bit of disaster for 5 minutes late. Disaster maybe a little bit of a strong word, but Syndra getting behind is not how you win.
A strong word, but definitely the sentiment remains true from that. That is not what you want to see. The Syndra, probably the win condition for the team, we've been talking about this. Sure, Acorn can carry, but an Ashe solo carrying against a bunch of tanks is not what you want to see. She's not a Vayne. She can't shred through like that champion and others can. So I think the Syndra getting behind is not a good sign for this team. Coconut needs to come short this lane. I don't think that Syndra's going to be losing 1 versus 1 at anytime soon, but they could spell problems if she keeps getting behind.
Yeah, and now that Escanor has a little bit of an XP lead as well, still has the teleport available as well as his flash, we could look for a repeat gank in the mid lane, especially once he ticks that level 6. Sylas obviously able to have access to ultimates before potentially Cashew does, and I'd like to see him execute on that with the experience lead that he's going to have.
Looks like it's going to be repeat time in the top lane. Coconut is back here.
Yeah, he's looking for more as Bargrill takes a surprising amount of damage. Caulfield's Warhammer completed for Coconut. He's going to clean up the Urgot, and 37 CS still ahead of his laner, but falling behind in terms to this Vi, I want to say. Maokai not really going to be able to do much with that. I think
for now, it's good that Vi's getting all these kills. Could maybe transition it into some early game objectives, maybe around the Herald, maybe around a Dragon, something like that. The Urgot getting behind, yeah, it's a problem, but there are other damage sources on his team. Most of this team is of the Bruiser type. They don't really have a true tank that's getting far behind that could pose a problem for them. I think Bargrill the farm is still there. He's basically even in gold still, with Ingvar just down a little bit of money from the assist, so I think he's okay. Got even in again.
It's a repeat in the mid lane. Cashew already used the Scout of the Week and doesn't have the flash this time, so should just go down. It's going to be Escanor picking up another one. We had actually mentioned just before we got into this game that he placed second in the 1v1 tournament that we ran last week, and he hasn't actually gotten a chance to 1v1 his own lane on this Sylas. It seems like Gotti has been here the entire game.
Going for the 2v1. Kind of a tale of two camps right now. Ingvar being camped in the top lane against Escanor. Their jungler's paying them some extra attention. I think a lot smarter right now for Team Deathrealm. Again, the Syndra way more important than the Urgot. For these two teams, those are the two champions that are getting put behind. Looks like the Dragon going to go in favor of Team Deathrealm. Escanor on the chase.
Nice hijack on the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Going to force the flash out of Acorn, and Vi's not able to get into the Dragon Pit. No vision there. Means that first Drake going to go over to Team Deathrealm. For a team that is going to feel pretty comfortable scaling, this is nice.
Yeah, definitely feels good. Of course, early dragons don't mean too much, but they do help you get toward the soul. That's the main reason for it. The Infernal Dragon giving, 1 or 2 extra AD and AP right now, but it does feel good, right? You have that little start towards a win condition. The other team doesn't get it. Looks like we might have another repeat gank in the bot lane.
Oh no. Kitano, he engages, but I think he's going to find that it was a little bit of an over-aggressive engage as Volibear jumping straight onto the Ashe. No flash available after the Enchanted Crystal Arrow played before, and she's going to melt before she's able to really do anything. Teleport, you spend it in the bot lane. They may be looking for a tower play off of this, but 4 members showing up bot isn't going to be anything really coming of that except for Ashe.
A perfect example of why Acorn cannot carry this game for his team. The dive onto him, when you actually fully commit for TDR, that Ashe dies instantly, right? Multiple members. There's Liliana next to him, no peel, really able to come through. Acorn dies immediately. Sure, he didn't have flash, but, it's a 5-minute cooldown. You can't always expect to have flash, of course, in these team fights. Acorn, is in some trouble for these later team fights. The damage will only go up from his opponents, whereas his survivability will not really increase at all from now. Cashew also teleporting in. That's going to decrease the global pressure that this team has for the rest of this early game up toward the tower plate phase of the game, I should say. 5 minutes late, they're looking relatively grim right now.
Yeah, and now Ashe has grabbed herself a BF sword as well, so maybe going for something like the Essence Reaver, which is going to be even, I want to say, more difficult into all of these tanks, not having the early power spike. Ingvar going to be in a little bit of trouble here as Senna Ultimate going to try and grab the assist. Bargrill and Gotti aren't going to flash over the wall or commit, and Ingvar going to get out with his life, but just barely.
Did have to use the summoner, so not something that you love to see. I also want to go back to the BF sword point that you just made. I really don't like this build at all. I think against this much of a frontline, you need to play to the Ruin King, and even then it's going to be hard. I think going Essence Reaver first spells a lack of tank shredding for a very long time. Maybe we'll see an Essence Reaver into a Blade of the Ruin King, but I think the item choice from Acorn maybe just not really respecting the tanky stats that are going to be on the opposing side.
Yeah, and you see a lot of utility picked up when you do see Essence Reaver come in for Ashe. Really, it tends to be about having that ultimate up more often and really being able to zone and control a fight. But controlling a fight into somebody like Escanor, who's quite ahead, as well as Gotti, who's just going to be running straight at your face, not going to be quite as easy. Cashew not ahead either, as Coconut tries to escape off the back of this being taken down. Now with the Rift Herald being taken and Coconut really not able to contest at all, just spent his time watching that one go down. We could see a lot more plays across the map from Gotti since he's really been showing up in every lane.
Yeah, a bit of wasted time there. Teleport called in from Lotus as well with that spell. We couldn't see that.
Ooh, flash in. Still, Cashew doesn't have the ability to actually flash away CC the whole time. And we see another kill being grabbed up for Team Death Realm. Not really much to be done about this.
No, basically nothing that could have been done there by Cashew. Maybe you flash away a little bit faster. Herald in the mid now as well. 3 plays, good usage of it. Maybe could have dropped it a little bit later. Here's a dive again.
Yeah, Skunner goes straight into the turret, hijacks the ultimate from Vi, going to be traded back, and now tries to stun Gotti onto the turret. Might actually get him in the end of this, but will go down himself. Shutdown's being traded on both sides, but Escanor, he gets the turret for himself, sitting at 2-0 and 2, has first turret and plenty of gold.
Huge win for the Silas there in the mid lane. 1,600 gold up on his opposite number in Cashew. This is the champion that we said needed to carry the game. The second lowest amount of gold on his team after Kitano on the Cinder. That's not what you want to see. 0-3. The power is in all the wrong places for 5 minutes late.
Yeah, and we talked about, just touching very quickly, what are the win conditions for this team, since we do feel like the draft may be a little bit stunted against Team Death Realm, and already at 11 minutes in, it is feeling like the game is snowballing away from them, and it's really up to Team Death Realm to keep this up, to make minimal mistakes as the game goes on, because it is their game to win right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They are very much in the driver's seat right now. Jungle mid very far ahead. And it really feels like 5 minutes late, this team that has all the engaged tools just isn't able to get anything done. They're not able to be proactive because they are too far behind. Coconut has been stifled, wasted time around that Herald, ended up getting killed in the tower dive, just not exerting the pressure. And Ingvar hasn't gotten any sort of lead up against Bargrail. Sure, he might be a little bit stronger than he would otherwise. He's up some gold, but who cares? It's a Maokai versus Urgot right now. Team Death Realm just totally in control.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the idea that, we want to get our Maokai ahead so that he's able to peel for more and for longer, but now Kitano being caught out as Bargrill really doesn't have any lane to be concerned about. As you mentioned, Maokai just being forced to farm up Acorn, going to take a little bit of a chunk, and it's just Team Death Realm securing what is already Dragon priority around this Ocean spawn.
Yeah, Ocean Dragon is now on the map. They're going to be looking to take that one down. We'll see if any contests come through. It looks like they do want to fight. 5 minutes late. Not sure they can contest this.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow to go straight onto the Volibear, who really ends up doing nothing. Sent ultimate across 5 members as the dive in from the Vi onto the front line where Escanor is waiting. Will be shut down again by that Vi, but Acorn's in a lot of trouble. Gargrill's walking him down. Will be taken down by the final auto, and so much shred coming across 3 members there at the end. We see Team Death Realm, their bruiser comp is just too much. There's no damage on 5 minutes to take them down.
No, there is basically no damage right now on this team. The Cinder is useless. The Vi went in and died. Not what you want to see coming through, as this game, it's all but over, I do feel, at this point. TDR, sure, they can still throw, absolutely, but they would need to throw a lot away right now. They're going to end up about 4,000 gold in the lead off of this play. 2 dragons to nil. Just looking much, much more dominant in those fights. We saw those health bars constantly being topped off by the various heals, the sustain coming through, as well as just the, massive amounts of health and tanky statistics on these bruiser champions. CDI, their team fight is great, and it looks like they're firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw 5 minutes late pick up a single kill in that fight. And granted, it was a shutdown, but again, it went onto the Vi. Vi is the only member of 5 minutes late that even has kills under her belt. Maokai, the one with the second most kill participation after her. And it feels like, as we mentioned, if you're investing so much gold into the Vi, you're hoping that she's going to carry. Working on that Black Cleaver after Warrior, though, really not going to be able to do it.
No, Vi is not a champion that carries games. It just doesn't really happen. She has too much single target damage, and she's good at being a single target damage champion, right? A little bit of trading in the top lane. Don't think anything's going to come of that. Vi is here, though.
Yeah, Vi, the Fed member here, might be able to take down Bar Grill. Doesn't have the Assault and Battery just yet, though, so not enough damage going to be onto the Urgot as he finds his way under the turret. They're looking for the Assault and Battery that's just coming off cooldown right now, and already in trouble. As the cooldown finishes, Escanor are going to grab that very same cooldown for himself. They trade over the tower, or over the wall here, and Meat Grinder going to be used. Bar Grill pulling in the Vi, who had tried to assassinate him earlier. Cashew going to die for his sins, and Ingvar now forced to flash away as a lot of investment for 5 minutes late in the top lane goes very south very quickly.
This game is just falling apart faster and faster for 5 minutes late. Very over-aggressive tower dive there from Coconut. And again, this focus on the Urgot. What is that going to actually achieve? Sure, he's got a nice little shutdown on his head, but all of the Vi's time has been spent up in this top side of this game. It has gotten nothing else on the map ahead. This Ashe 0-2, the Syndra 0-4, products of this ignorance in the early game.
Yeah, and I think speaking of the Vi and the amount of deaths that we've sort of accrued, because we mentioned Syndra 0-4 and Vi, who was just 4-1, really the best KDA on the team, the most done, is already significantly down in farm and has increased that to 4-3 now. So really having given over a lot of gold to Team Death Realm at this point. Going to be a lot of tanky stats picked up by Gotti, who has the ability to use that gold much more effectively than the Vi as the game goes later and later.
Yeah, of course, right? Vi is not a champion that is good in the late game. That's what part of the reason she can't carry, kind of falls off. And right now she's going into the backline, and before she can even get anybody close to being killed, she's going down herself. Her team isn't really able to follow her through. We saw Cashew teleport into that fight, got 0 done. So a little bit of damage came out, but just super, super low. And the damage doesn't even have one item completed right now. Silas on 1.5, Azodium on 1.5, almost a full item completed for Bar Grill right now. Very, very far behind in the Syndra. And this is not a deficit that's easily recoverable for Syndra either. She can't really just farm her way back into prominence. Needs to have some kind of a miracle team fight that I honestly don't think is arguably physically possible for her. Right? She just doesn't have the damage right now.
Yeah, and I mean, unless I'm wrong, she is going for that Ludens. I'm not necessarily as comfortable with mid lane itemization, but I believe that's it, having played a little bit of support Lux. But really, that Ludens is not going to be providing a really huge late game power spike. It's not really an item that you pick up in that mid game. Definitely more of an early purchase that allows you to snowball your lane even harder. And when you're picking it up 0-4, 17, 18, 19 minutes into the game, it's really not going to be doing nearly as much for you. We are looking for that miracle team fight that you talked about, and it would have to be 5 minutes late, using the amount of utility, amount of engage that they have really well. But on the other side of that, Acorn going to be taken down by Azodium as well as Lotus. They make what is not an engaged bot lane look very, very aggressive. It's going to be Katano following on the Leona. Vi has shown her face in bot lane, but it may just be too scary. Volibear going straight out of the turret, wants to take down Coconut one more time, and it should be him going down. Lotus picks up the kill there. Tom Kench eats up the Volibear to keep him safe from the turret aggro. Now Cashew gonna get flashed on, gonna get taken down. Escanor killing him with his very own ultimate. Rift Herald on the bot side will get the tower, and Team Death Realm will secure their 3rd dragon of the game.
Beautiful committal, beautifully executed tower dive there. Nice juggling of the tower dagger as well, with Lotus taking the Volibear into his belly for just a little while to get the tower. They're going to secure the dragon for themselves as well, pretty much on spawn. They're playing a nearly perfect game right now, Diatripa, and on the side of 5 minutes late, just not willing to give that play out. Multiple members coming in after the play was essentially over, one by one. That's not what you want to see, and it led to their collective ruin.
Yeah, it's a lot of trying to make something happen, and it turns into what is realistically just overcommittal by 5 minutes late, as they try and create a numbers advantage where realistically it's just not going to happen. Try and keep that turret safe, and there is no losing the minimum right now that's going on from 5 minutes late. They're not trading across the map because they can't into an Urgot that has already pushed his way to relevancy, has enough armor to survive any ganks from the Vi. And it feels like they are very, very quickly running out of options off of an early game that really just they couldn't find anything in.
Absolutely. Very well said there. If you get rid of the Vi, this is a perfect game. Literally, right? No towers, no dragons, no kills, except for this Vi who was able to get some kills in the early game, but 2 of those were on Bar Grill. The only kills in the actual early game were against Bar Grill. That has made absolutely no difference, as you can see up in the top lane. We could be here a while before anybody gets very low, and he's still hovering on the top side. Is Coconut? He doesn't have any camps up. He doesn't need to be here by this Urgot. I think Coconut has just is very strongly committed to the wrong plan.
Yeah, and that being said, there is a win on the side, or at least for the audience here, as Coconut may be falling down for one more time, is going to be tagged up by the Fear Beyond Death, might be pulled in very soon, and there it is, the pull in. Caillou going to be feared up in Bar Grill. As much as he couldn't take down Maokai, he doesn't have problems with anybody else. Leona going to be the second one to fall. Azodium grabs that kill for himself. Escanor fishing for a pick in the mid lane, isn't going to find it, but isn't going to be in danger either. Gets spit right back up at the Tom Kedge, wants to keep fighting. Unfortunately, the Baron is spawning, and they feel that maybe their best way to win the game.
Yeah, the Baron should be relatively free right now. TVR cannot be contested on the map. We haven't even looked at the gold lead, but while we've been missing it, 8,000 gold in the lead right now, 17 kills to 4, 2 towers to 0 only. That's going to balloon, I feel sure, after this Baron goes down. No contest even really being attempted. They send Ashe and Cinder off to the lanes to farm. I guess they're taking the minimum on this one, but they really are taking the minimum that they can right now. A little bit of farm, not even going to grab a tower. 5 minutes late, just look lost.
Yeah, and now that we have what is more than a 5K gold lead, I want to say 9K, approaching 10K at this point. Ashe getting a little bit more farm, not necessarily going to be helpful now that she has that one item power spike. Really, a spike is more of a small hill in the valley of what appears to be death very soon for 5 minutes late. And I think that at this point in the game, if you are 5 minutes late, you're asking yourself, what do we do going into the next game? And obviously the draft has been a really big part of this. But I feel that the way that they played additionally, and the way that they prioritized where, for example, Coconut would end up going, has been almost a larger part of this game than the draft itself.
I think there were problems with the draft, the actual play, and the building this game, mostly from Acorn. I really dislike the Essence Reaver. You mentioned Power Spike, more like a Power Ripple. Ripple would be the word I would come up with, because sure, you can have more arrows, but the arrows have had 0 impact. So, a lot multiplied by 0 is still 0, right? So I think the build on that front needs to be changed, but I don't like the draft and I don't like the early game play. I think Coconut just failed to recognize where the win condition was, and I think that's on the whole team. I don't want to just throw Coconut under the bus. In that early game plan making, focusing on your Maokai Tonklin up against the Urgot, it really just not the best of ideas, and I think you need to take this time to figure that out, because I think, I would hope at least they have realized this game is not winnable.
Yeah, if we do want to play towards the bot side, maybe we see a carry picked up for Ingvar. Is Bar Grill going to be buying a little bit of time on the bot side? Shouldn't have any problems with Coconut alone and might be able to take him down before the rest of the team shows up. Fear Beyond Death going to pull him in. Double fear for the Urgot. Just touching onto Acorn. Can we see the 1v3 here as Bar Grill just has to get a little bit further forward? Already has no flash, though. There's a dashboard. Could secure Acorn here. Almost gets it. Will go down in the end. But on the top side, it is still disaster for 5 minutes late as Team Death Realm push down the tier 2 and get a few more kills.
This is an unstoppable push, I'm pretty sure right now, coming through from TDR. I'm not sure they'll take the game, but I think they definitely will take this tower. They will certainly take the inhibitor. Oceans, or the Cloud Soul, coming up in 45 seconds. TDR can take almost anything they want right now.
Yeah, game very much is theirs right now. As we mentioned, probably taking the inhibitor, not much else. They don't have Bar Grill with them, and we'll want him for that end game push. As we saw, Urgot brings a lot of power, almost 1v3s, taking down Coconut and almost Acorn to that single-digit health mark. The reset's going to come in as we do prepare for this dragon, and looks like Coconut wanting to secure a little bit of vision around that area before it starts. We might see 5 minutes late give a throw in the towel, a Hail Mary fight here.
I think you have to, right? I mean, you can't just continue to give away objectives. I don't think they're going to win the fight. I don't think anybody, watching would think they're going to win the fight. This is virtually an unwinnable situation 4 or 5 minutes late, but I do think you try around the Soul Dragon. If you don't win it now, you're not going to be winning it ever, really. But Ashe is not here. Acorn's not here. 5 minutes late, they just, I don't even think they really are sure what they should do right now.
Yeah, granted, it is the Cloud Soul, so if there is a soul that you're comfortable giving up, it tends to be this one. Yep. Unfortunately, the Cloud Soul going to be even more influential when it comes to Silas's ultimate. We see an attempt at a steal from Coconut, but he is several levels down and certainly not any health to speak of in this world. Escanor jumps straight onto Kitano, and he should be dead here as chains come in from the Senna. There's the ultimate, the assault and battery coming in from the man with the chains. Bar Grill really has taken 0 damage as he tries to walk himself onto that Terra. Cashew could actually go down here. There's the Fear Beyond Death. They commit to get the chunk there and take down the mid laner 4 or 5 minutes late. Now it's going to be the mid lane tower falling. No Baron left to speak of, but really no answer coming out from 5 minutes late as Team Death Realm make what might be the final push into the base.
No answer coming out, and I think really there just was no answer to be found to give out there for 5 minutes late. So far behind in the game, they have just been surgically removed from the map time and time again. Almost a perfect game again with the exclusion of Coconut as TDR, they're looking to end the game.
Coconut and Kitano, who's thirsting for blood, but will be taken down very shortly here. Finds himself in the middle of the 4 members. And as we mentioned, this Bruiser comp feeling unbeatable. Bar Grill doing so much damage. And finally, the Tahm Kench will fall. Lotus gives over 1 single more kill. Kitano looking to perhaps be another Azodium doesn't want to commit under the tower and doesn't need to at this point. First Nexus tower will fall. Second one going down just now, and the Nexus is going to be the final objective for Team Death Realm as they walk away confidently with the victory in Game 1.
A dominating performance by Team Death Realm. They're over 5 minutes late. It was a comp that needed to get ahead for 5 minutes late. It did the opposite, and from there, the rest is just history. Not ever a prayer in that game for them to win. I don't feel 5 minutes late. They need to go back to the drawing board, I think, both in the draft and in their early game planning.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to say about the game that we haven't said already. We had about 25 minutes to write a eulogy for this team that has ended up going straight to that 0-1 mark in the series. But importantly, this is a best of 3 series, and we might see 5 minutes late turn it around in Game 2 as they show us something new.
Yeah, we might. I think they're going to need a lot that is new in the next game. They just need a new. I think they're going to need a new mentality on it because I imagine they're not in the best mental state right now. I think they're going to need a new draft, and they're also going to probably need some new planning. I think they need to be playing around their carries in the early game. Cashew and Acorn got left out to dry, as we saw 0-8, 0-4. That is not a strategy that works.
Oh my God! Sorry, I got really hungry when you said Cashew and Acorn left out to dry. I was really there, but I think that like evaluating what their win conditions are and being able to play to those is something that we're going to need to see in Style Esports as a whole, right? It's something that the teams need to be aware of when they're going into these games. And it felt like 5 minutes late, maybe trying to play around Coconut as a win condition, were a little bit out of touch with the way that the enemy team wanted to play and had drafted and how those sorts of win conditions lined up. It is something that, as we mentioned, though, we can bring back, and I expect to be brought back, as these teams will go head-to-head again in just a few minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gents, to 5 Minutes Late versus Team Death Realm. Notably, neither of these teams have chosen to switch sides as we get into Game 2, and I'm Diatra, joined on this by Jarl, and Jarl, I'm actually wondering what it is that the advantage might be for somebody like 5 Minutes Late on that blue side, because the choice is definitive, right? Maybe wanting access to more power picks this game, or what is it?
Maybe wanting to first pick some power picks. I guess last game that would have been the Ashe, which didn't work out so well. So I would like to see them switch up what that first pick is. I don't want to see the Ashe again. I think that looked frankly rather awful for them. Just not a lot of priority given to it. Maybe you go for a Senna first. I'm a little surprised to see TDR continuing that ban away on Caitlyn, but the bans so far are exactly the same. We'll see if the draft continues to be run back.
Yeah, and this time the Volibear taking the place of the Shen that was banned, and I think that's going to be nice in the jungle, but TDR obviously going to have access to what I don't think is a stretch to call a power pick in the top lane. Shen providing a lot of versatility in terms of the way that he can both play the lane and the map.
We've gone for the full 180 right now. We're going for a Kali. That sounds like fun. Another champion that if she does not get ahead is remarkably ungood. So we'll find out how well that works. Echo almost straight away locked in, and there's the Shen for TDR. I think TDR still can be very happy with their draft. Yeah,
they have picked themselves up what, again, just before this I was calling a power pick, and Akali also got a little bit weaker on this patch. It felt like she was being a little bit too solo lane dominant, was paired with that Lucian in the sense of we want to tone this down just a little bit so it doesn't become overbearing at Worlds, and is going to maybe suffer a little bit into the Echo, which I expect is a counter pick.
I would assume so. Echo does well against assassins just because of that ultimate coming through for him. He can get away from that second activation of perfect execution or whatever else he needs to escape from. Garen coming through for 5 minutes late, not a competitive pick that anybody really plays. Not super great into Shen either. I don't think it's particularly bad, but I don't think it's particularly good either. And not a lot of depth to Garen's kit, of course, especially with the villain mechanic taken away. Shyvana as well. This is turning into a very solo Q-esque draft, I think, for 5 minutes late.
This draft is so crazy. What is the plan here? These champions do not have a lot of synergy with each other, with the exception of maybe that they all want to run at your face. And 5 minutes late could be trying to draft themselves just an overwhelming burst composition that, like you mentioned, we do see a lot in solo queue when everybody grabs themselves carries. This game not looking too much different from that.
I mean, I imagine we're going to see an AP Shyvana jungle come through. That's not something that I'm wild about, to be honest. But it gets strong if it's ahead. That is what we said last game. Didn't work out. So TDR, they pick up the Bard. I think this is very smart. They're going to first pick their AD carry. Second, round of picks here. They can ban out multiple AD carries. They ban away the Ashe. Not really sure why, but it is still a strong pick. I think that will force the Senna ban from 5 minutes late, unless they want to play against that once again. Kaisa taken off the table. We could go very far down this AD carry pool.
Yeah, I think that Jhin being taken away as well is going to be pushing us pretty deep. Ezreal still available.
Ezreal Senna, yeah.
That away. Yeah, there are a lot of power picks available. And I actually kind of like the Ashe Jhin ban because it supplements, or it would supplement 5 minutes late, actually having not a whole lot of engage. Ezreal Senna, like you mentioned, Ezreal going to be picked up for Team Death Realm.
Nothing screams out to me as wanting to be picked right now. 4 or 5 minutes late in the AD carry pool. Sivir maybe could be picked here. This is, you're going really far down. Zyra Khan actually is probably what I would pick right now if I was in solo queue with a support duo or a competitive game. I think it's probably the best lane you can come up with right now. I don't expect them to go for it because they haven't picked it already. Jinx, I really dislike Jinx. I think she's super immobile. She is just going to get cut down again in this game. There's so much dive. Again, Shen, Echo, Bard ultimate, Ezreal even diving. And right now I think this Jinx is going to have a very hard time.
Yeah, we talked about the mental game of 5 minutes late as we left game one, and I'm not sure if it's affected their draft because I'm really not seeing the way this composition is coming together. Jinx has a bunch of anti-synergy with 5 minutes late's actual composition right now. Really doesn't like to play the game the same way at all. Sivir, at least, having a little bit of run-in. Pyke, this is a little bit bringing it back. I like the power pick of Pyke, but Set is a beautiful lock-in for potentially the mid lane or jungle, though I expect it to be the jungler.
Could be top also if we're going to see some like River Shen situations coming through right now. I like the set. Again, another kind of brawly style team for TDR. I think the comps are not dissimilar to the first game. I think this Jinx Pike lane is just confused about what it wants to do. Shyvana very much out of solo queue. The Garen as well out of solo queue and not even out of very many solo queue games. He's not that popular. I think the Akali is really the only mainstay in competitive play right now for 5 minutes late.
Yeah, and now that we have the set picked up, I feel like this has answered almost everything that 5 minutes late want to do, right? Because you have a Shyvana that wants to dive in, a Garen that wants to dive in, and a Akali that wants to dive in, and Set has the ability to whip at least one person out back into the fight, back into the front line, where Echo and Shen are going to be waiting for you with Ezreal poking at you from the sidelines.
I, for the most part, agree with that, as we are now into the actual draft, or the real Champions Select draft. So we have a couple more minutes to talk about this game, but I just don't really see the early game win condition for 5 minutes late. Shyvana takes a while to scale up. I guess I would like to see them go for some kind of a dragon control, try to leave Garen on a top lane. He can silence to interrupt the Shen if it is a Shen top, which we actually can see in just a second when these players pick their champions. Garen can interrupt the Shen, maybe try to go for a Shyvana play on the dragon. Shyvana, of course, really, really wants to go for those early dragons. I think that's probably the best way for this team to get ahead. They just need to be a lot more proactive in different ways than they were last game.
Yeah, and I think that this game as well, we have a little bit more scaling insurance for them. I would like to see them be proactive, especially with those early Drakes that you had mentioned, because of the benefit that it'll provide to them through the mid game, where I feel like they're going to have their largest slump.
Yeah, I think that is also a concern for this side. I think really that for me also, if you're 5 minutes late, I think the team fight just looks kind of random. None of these champions are really great team fighters per se, probably with the exception of Jinx. Shyvana can randomly throw in AP fireballs, but there's not like an Azir, there's not a Caitlyn. These champions that just want to stand and fire in a team fight. There's no giant front line either. Where's your tankiness going to come if you're 5 minutes late? If you're trying to stand against Ezreal poke in the front line, is it Garen trying to heal up? He might not build that tanky. Shyvana, if she's going AP, is going to take a lot of damage very quickly. I think 5 minutes later, they're going to have a hard time skirmishing and kind of a hard time team fighting. This comp just doesn't really know what it wants to do, to my mind.
Yeah, that being said, though, what I do like from 5 minutes late is wherever the gold goes, I feel like it's going to be useful. If you get a lot of gold on Pike, Jinx, Shyvana, Garen, Akali, like every single one of those champions, when they're ahead, I'm already very scared of. And even if it doesn't necessarily synergize, they can look to snowball through a specific lane that is winning more. So we don't have the problem that we had last game where Coconut all of a sudden is ahead and there's really nothing to do with it.
That is a good point. I think probably, honestly, the Garen is the worst place to have the gold in this specific game, but that is an interesting point. If somebody gets ahead, it doesn't even matter who gets the kills. Shyvana fireballs, Akali one-shots people, Jinx, does random Jinx things and kills everyone instantly. And even the Pike on the support with the ultimate can share that gold. So I think if 5 minutes late, they have less need to camp a specific lane this game as they do just needing to get kills.
Yeah, it's a little bit of freedom and unlock there, which is where I think that we're going to need to see Team Death Realm have that heads up play with what I want to call safe lanes. Echo, relatively safe laner, especially in something like a Shyvana who doesn't necessarily have that early gank power. Shen, obviously, very tanky, has the ability to get away from ganks. And Ezreal Bard, no slouches either. That is an impossible lane to gank. It really feels like in Team Death Realm, we're going to have to be ahead of the invasions into their lanes by 5 minutes late, because if these kills do start coming in, they get very scary very quickly.
I think it's a good point. These lanes are very, very safe. On the other side, the lanes are not that safe. Jinx is very immobile. Shyvana, very immobile. Garen, very immobile. Garen is very susceptible to ganks, one of his major problems in competitive play. I want to see that get exposed. I don't think Cashew needs to necessarily be yanked in this game. Akali, pretty slippery to get away from Set and Echo. They have pretty good gap closers, so potentially could go for that, but I think you can just focus on the top and the bot lane, get the Ezreal, get the Shen, get the Set ahead. The Echo should be just fine if he's just farming up in the mid lane. I think that's probably the strategy they want to go for. I don't think this mid lane needs to have a lot of attention.
Yeah, and I mean, Gotti, fortunately, is going to be, at least if last game is anything to go by, a really aggressive jungler, and should be able to punish at least the immobile bot lane with the Jinx there. And I'd really be looking for his presence in at least the counter ganks for the Shyvana, if not the proactive ones in the bot lane.
I think proactive ganks pre-6 are also going to be very important for TDR. In this game, like you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, Shyvana's pre-6 is essentially useless. She can come in and clean up kills, kind of like a Warwick pre-6, is able to gank but doesn't really want to. I think Set could potentially even try to look for some, a double scuttle, maybe some sort of an invade with his teammates as well. I think there's a lot of things that the Set can do pre-level 6 when I do feel he'll be a lot stronger than Coconut.
Yeah, I don't think that's any stretch of the imagination, really, exactly as we've been talking about. It's really going to be a matter of like when these comps are spiking, because 5 minutes late, spike a lot with gold, and Team Death Realm have a lot of utility and survivability under their belt to keep that from happening, and Set obviously to create plays of his own. So my eyes are really on Gotti as we move into this match. There is just a little while left on the spectator delay here, so we're going to throw it to a short break before we get into game 2, where 5 minutes late fighting for their lives in this series against Team Death Realm. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Summoner's Rift, where we're bringing you Game 2 of 5 Minutes Late versus Team Death Realm. My name is Diatripa, and I am joined once again by the one and only Jarl Karl as we head into our second game of the night, which is a little bit of an odd draft coming up. 5-man spreads from both teams, as I'd expect 5 Minutes Late to be going aggressive this early on just to pay off on their composition, but a little bit of reserve play right now is going to suit them.
Yeah, they're just kind of chilling. Thank you very much, Diatripa, for the introduction. What's up, guys? I am Jarl Karl, and we're on the Rift. Some 5-point stacks. A little bit of a ward went down for Gotti. Goes back as the sweeper for himself. So early vision control strongly in favor of TDR.
Well, absolutely insurmountable at this point. And I really like actually that play, just in general. The jungler or even the support, and that might be a little bit more controversial, having an early sweeper, I think is really, really ridiculously useful, especially if you are going to be going for those early ganks that we expect Gotti to be trying to make happen.
Yeah, I don't know if he needs to go for necessarily like early ganks, but I think he wants to exert early pressure on the map, just because the Shyvana is not going to have anything of the sort. In the early game, yeah, I mean, she can spin around and like try to take a bite out of you, and woo, it's a dragon lady, but not really a dragon yet. So, not really that strong. Set does a lot of damage, mostly always, especially with the Haymaker, if you can get some true damage set up in that. So I think he needs to have early pressure. He has the phase rush for that to help him kind of zoom around in the fights, but I think he easily will be able to 1v1 Coconut. I would like to see him, with the lanes, with his laners, maybe with a Escanor, maybe with Bargo, try to go for some kind of a double scuttle, go for an invade, maybe steal away an early dragon, something like that.
Yeah, can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. And Escanor, importantly, I think, on that note, should have a little bit of a push in the mid lane. I'm not really sure which way the Akali and Echo lane matchup goes, but both of them have quite a bit of wave clear for those melee champions.
Yeah, indeed. They both can kind of clear waves relatively quickly. I'm pretty sure Echo can shove faster, as we already see that coming to fruition there in the mid, just with the Q level 2s in the bot lane, though.
Oh yeah, Kitano actually finds that, and Flash expended from the Bard already means Lotus might be burning down here. Ignite going to be used by Kitano, and could look for a secondary hook. Flash in the bot lane, as well as Exhaust expended by Team Death Realm. Defensively, though, and only Ignite used by Kitano, feels really good for them, especially if they want to start getting this late ahead.
Yeah, one flash net essentially on that play. Just not quite the respect for level 2 that you need to have in the bot lane. Level 2, very, very important in the bot lane. I talk about this, I think, almost every time that I cast. You want to be aware of that power spike. It does cost Lotus his flash and that exhaust for them as well. A little bit of trading in the mid lane, but I don't think we're going to see anything.
Yeah, Escanor actually gets chunked pretty low, manages to trade back as he gets the third proc of his passive, and Gotti already waiting in the top side. Shyvana looking to secure a scuttle, but may have to roam top as top laner's in a little bit of trouble. Shen, unfortunately, not bringing exactly the same amount of damage, and Gotti not going to be able to got anything.
Yeah, that gank was honestly a bit of a letdown. To my mind on that one, I'm pretty sure Gotti autoed a creep several times with the Q on as well for that extra damage. Just didn't really get anything there on Ingvar. He's able to walk himself away. Gotti, though, like we talked about earlier, has a lot of pressure on this Scuttle Crab. His laner's coming to help as well. Beautifully played there in the macro sense.
Yeah, that's the shove that you were talking about from Escanor, finally being able to be used more for that jungle pressure, which I think is really nice. Nice team play coming up from Team Death Realm as they don't know that Set is there. Should be pinged out right now as he walks through mid lane. Might be looking for a double scuttle with such an aggressive walk through the lane.
This is exactly what I wanted him to do. Excuse me. Coconut level 3 versus level 4. Gotti has the red buff as well for some combat power, as this should be a relatively trivial double scuttle. A lot of pressure there for the team.
Yeah, the fact that bot lane does have the shove 4 or 5 minutes late means that it might be a little bit more difficult. We actually might see an early fight here. Scuttlecrab going to be taken by Gotti, and Escanor commits onto Kitano, who could be in a little bit of trouble. Not a lot of ways for 5 minutes late to walk through this composition. Gotti going to be hit by the Shuriken flip, and they could look to go in on this nice Haymaker across 4 members. Actually going to do quite a bit of damage. The flash forward to the face breaker will get Set the first blood. Cashew going to pick up one of his own as he grabs a second one onto Escanor. Now should pay for it with his life, though, as Azodium just needs that final auto. It is going to be the Bard that grabs it. And can he make it to the portal in time? Will not, and will fall for 300 gold onto the Shyvana. 3 for 2, a play mostly in the favor of 5 minutes late.
Not the fight that TDR was looking for at all right there. They are able to get first blood and get out, only losing one kill. So they lose about 500 gold total on that. That's what they're down now. They may lose this dragon as well. Coconut is still on the map. The red buff preserved on Lotus at the same time. So not a huge disaster. I think really they're just a lack of AoE for their team. The Akali, Acorn, and Kitano all have those AoE abilities. They can do a lot more damage than TDR could. They had the pressure. They took a lot of damage before that started. They ended up losing the fight.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really interesting engage from Team Death Realm. It looks like they were going to walk away with the win for a little while there. But as we were talking about, that AoE really coming in clutch and gets a little bit extra early gold, about 400 gold in the favor of 5 minutes late right now. Still not exactly what they're going to need in order to continue this game in a winning state. But Akali getting 2 kills actually really, really big for 5 minutes late.
A worrying trend, I think, for sure, for TDR right now. This Akali is one of the main win conditions, I think, to actually carry the game, and you do not want her to get that much farther ahead than she is now. I don't think she's, unfixably far ahead, but definitely worrying. If you are this team, your Echo now down 10 CS, took a pretty bad death, only got 1 assist as well. So basically no gold from that fight for him. In terms of a power delta as a result of that fight, mostly manifesting itself in the mid lane.
Yeah, especially with the farm differential, 10 CS up on with the Akali. I want to say on the Akali, which I think also makes sense, is also getting the shove into Escanor. Still has the teleport available if he does want to back for a little bit of an early power spike, but I actually want to draw our attention to the CS lead that's developed in the top side. Ingvar getting shoved in a little bit, but down pretty significantly so far.
Yeah, he's ended up down about 2 waves. It's not really what you want to see on Garen. I mentioned in Champs Select, actually we're going to see a fight in the mid lane.
Yeah, level 6 hit for Cashew. Escanor managed to dodge the Shuriken flip. Perfect execution. Going to bring Akali that much closer. His back's going to be stopped in the top lane. And it's just going to be the story of, I think, resets being delayed as Escanor wanting to back as Akali hits the level 6. Now Bargril trying to get away from the Garen, who's also hit that power spike. But Garen looks like he's in a little bit more trouble here.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of damage. I mentioned this in Champs like I said before the fight. Garen, he doesn't necessarily lose this matchup, but it's not a winning matchup for Garen by any stretch of the imagination into the Shen. And also the Dragon going over in favor of TDR, not something you want to give away if you are the Shyvana. That's that general power delta really coming through. The stat is still much, much stronger than the Dragon right now.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of vision misplay for them as well, not recognizing that Set can take that Dragon. Bargril takes a nice trade in the top slide, and Ingvar going to be zoned out of a lot of the CS waves pushing towards Bargril at the moment.
Indeed, Ingvar's taking a lot of damage. He is, I believe, at risk of a flash taunt as well from Bargril.
Yeah, I think it's the margins are so thin on these tanks, so we might actually see him go down here, and it will be the last auto that actually gets him. A surprising amount of damage coming out of the Shen onto what is just a Kindle Gem Garen. Shen actually having not backed just yet as well. Kitano is not going to manage to land the hook in the bot lane, so no trade back for them. As now Lotus actually in a little bit of a dangerous spot here, is looking for something onto Acorn. And Zodium going to get locked up, and Kitano forced to use the dash a little bit preemptively. Base breaker not going to land, but the suplex is certainly going to be enough. Now Ingvar finds himself in a place that he doesn't necessarily want to be, having expended the teleport to get to the bot lane, but the bot lane play already netting 2 kills for Team Death Realm after that trade.
A very nice play on the Shen, level 6 there. Bargril using that Stand United proactively in an offensive manner. Very, very well done. Teleport used by Ingvar. I do think that's a big mistake for him. Not going to have that now. Teleport back to the top lane for the Shen. Bargril going to get even farther ahead. Ingvar, I think, just had to cut the losses again. We saw this not happening in the last game. Got to give that up. Bargril now pushing in the top. Could see some counterplay in the bot lane, but I think Lotus and Zodium are going to be okay.
Yeah, level 6 is hit here for Coconut. Flashboard from Ingvar is looking for this, but the Cosmic Binding going to be enough for now. Lotus gets out with the flash under the tower, and even more resources expended in the bot side of the map for 5 minutes late, as Shen pushing down this tower is going to get further and further ahead against Ingvar, and Shyvana not finding the early tempo that she needs to.
No, absolutely no. Just not working out on those ganks, and Ingvar also could be irreparably far behind now in the top lane, down 35 CS, 35 CS, excuse me. He's down 2-0, 2-0 and 1. He's 0-1. This Shen is going to be winning this 1v1 for a very long time.
Yeah, and also, importantly, with all those minions deteriorating under the tower, going to be left with very little experience to pick up there as well. So almost a half level up for Bargril now. We see what hasn't actually managed to be a huge gold lead for them, though, as it's really only about 600 gold divided over multiple members, and no actual threat onto 5 minutes late yet. Acorn, though, under significant threat as Kitano takes the follow-up there. Could find Lotus. Level 6s are available, and there he goes, picking up the kill gold for both members there. Azodium not going to be in any danger just yet, though. Acorn can't quite chase him down. Even though he is excited, Jinx doesn't have the ability to quite yet.
I think that play was actually sound by Lotus. He just missed his Q. If Acorn gets stunned there, maybe he can get one shot, but a lot of those spells missing from Lotus, not able to secure that kill. Acorn kept alive there by Kitano, now maybe looking for a Zodium.
Yeah, I really like the fact that we see the gold be given over to both members off those kills in the bot side as well. That's actually going to be really, really big when it comes to injecting gold into this Jinx and Pyke bot lane that have the potential to start taking over the game, as we mentioned, with all the members of 5 minutes late.
A little bit of a party in the top lane right now. Coconut just chilling, wasting a lot of time on this if no kill comes through. Lotus runs into Kitano. Q gets interrupted. I don't think Kitano will go down here. It does have to flash, though.
Yeah, and actually, that flash being expended for Pyke, pretty big, is going to manage to clear out that ward now that Cashew has roamed over. But it's essentially a free flash given over on the Pyke. And Bard going to have his up significantly sooner, so could look to make a few more plays across the map. I like that we see both supports roaming to that mid lane, though, trying to secure vision for their laners, recognizing that at the same time as we need Cashew to get more ahead if we're 5 minutes late. Team Death Realm certainly want to keep their Echo in a position where he can continually wave clear and doesn't have to worry about where Akali is roaming.
Absolutely. Cashew, the main point of power for this team. If we look at the gold, almost 2,000 gold ahead right now. So that's really where that gold delta is. Without that on the map, it's 1,000 gold in the lead the other way back around, as Ingvar is losing these trades badly in the top lane.
This is horrific. This is not why you picked Garen at this point, but it's a possible Jinx here, and I think that Gotti's just going to be able to grab that one up, gets the face breaker there, manages to conserve the ultimate for another day, as that was really a simple execution into what is very little vision had by 5 minutes late.
Yeah, absolutely. They're onto the Dragon. Now, Stand United available as well. I think Bargrill should just back off and quit pressuring, look for that ultimate, and secure this Dragon for his team with the team fight. But Shyvana, they're looking to contest.
Yeah, has at least her Dragon form available. Nice Tempered Fate will catch Coconut out. Gotti still has the ultimate available. Will just take Caillou a little further away from the team and get shut down by the Pyke here, sharing gold again across multiple members. There's a kill for the Echo, however, and Escanar looking to make things happen, but really doesn't have the health bar to speak of. Another kill coming in for Kitano, and that's a lot of gold injected into the side of 5 minutes late. Now finding themselves at almost a 2k gold lead. Bargrill managed to land a taunt in the top lane, but not really much happening up here.
Shutdown on the Akali went over in favor of Escanar, so that is at least something. I think a terrible usage of the Shen ult in that fight, not going on to Gotti when he engaged with the Showstopper, was still trying to go for the dive onto Ingvar. You need to be more team-oriented than that. I do feel Bargrill almost picks up the kill there for himself, but it doesn't matter. You need to be getting the kills of the team. Your lane itself does not matter. He's so far ahead. You want to be ulting away. Dragon score now evened up.
And yeah, that's actually really important as we continue to see the game roll on, right? How Team Death Realm play around what they've drafted themselves in. Shen, his strengths in lane may be very scary right now as he picks up a kill straight out of the tower with the flash onto Ingvar. But his strengths across the map are really where he starts to become very, very scary, right? It's the thing that makes Shen unique, and it's the thing that makes him strong in the meta right now, is his ability to play the entire map. And so not having them for that team fight does cost the Dragon ultimately for Team Death Realm, but they get themselves the first tower in the top lane. A little bit of gold onto this set, as well as the Shen, as Cashew's looking to make this up, wants to take the shutdown onto Shen. Nothing really available defensively for Bargrill means that he should go down here. Kitano doesn't have the ultimate quite yet, and they're just trying to walk away from Gotti. He's getting back up from Escanar, and they might be able to take Cashew down one more time. No Twilight Shroud available means Escanar will pick up his second kill of the game. And as much as he's down in CS, he's getting involved in these kills.
Second kill is shut down, then going over to Akali. More bad news. If you are TDR, though, a lot of the gold starting to be stacked on that member and the Pyke, so a lot of dive right there. Escanar could be in some trouble.
Yeah, gotta be careful of this. Shyvana gonna force the flash out over the wall. Ingvar doesn't want to commit his own. I saw him thinking about it as he walked up to that wall, but won't end up chasing after the Echo in what could have been a very futile play. Ultimate still available for him. That chrono break going to be able to get him out of a lot of sticky situations, and this is exactly what you want from your Echo. Even though he is significantly behind, is going to continue to be that wave clear, especially with the proto belt, and have the safety to push in these side lanes.
Absolutely. The side wave pressure is really starting to become in favor of TDR with the Shen and with this Echo on the wave clear. And Shen may get to the point where he's pretty unstoppable 1v1 in a side lane. We might see a fight break out here. Lotus walking in as Tempered Fate.
Yeah, Temper Fate actually finds Coconut. They didn't know he was there, and now we'll get stunned up against the wall. Gotti going to be hooked in, but he's quite tanky at this point. Suplexes into the, really isolating the Shyvana. Escano are now just zoning out the bot lane of 5 minutes late as the magical exit will come in there for Team Death Realm. They find themselves a pick, and they find their way out there. We still have quite a bit till Dragon spawns, and so that's all it's going to be, is a little bit of an injection of gold back into them.
Nicely played there by TDR. This is a team that has been outplaying 5 minutes late in a macro sense, in a fighting sense, pretty much the entire time. Let's see how they're engaged in the bot lane, but it looks like that will come to nothing. They've just looked like a crisper team throughout the game. They got a little bit farther behind. The Akali picked up some kills. The Pyke kills a little bit sloppy in some of these fights, but overall, I think this team looks a lot cleaner.
Yeah, and I think that that's really going to matter even more as the game goes on. Right now, obviously, gold is relatively even here. Is Jinx Rocket going to scout out that this Rift Herald was started? Cashew maybe looking to make something happen here, but has to be very careful as there are 3 members present. We see Ingvar roaming up, and we might actually see 5 minutes late starting to fight for this Rift Herald. Going to be grabbed by Gotti, who's now trying to make his way up. Flash forward from Ingvar, and he might go down here. Ultimate going to be expended as well. Maybe a little bit ambitiously. Kitano looking for the ultimate here, is going to flash and almost grab him up. Manages to be saved by that Bard there, and the shutdown onto the Pyke is going to be enough for Lotus. Not enough for Bar Grill, though. He dashes forward and might have overextended here. Nice Spirit's Refuge will buy him a lot of time and a lot of HP. That flash can be forced out from Lotus, though. Cashew is looking for more. Use the perfect execution under the tower and could look for Lotus here as well. Doesn't want to take that magical journey, but he finds Esconder. Unfortunately, can't see through that brush, and now it might be just end of the play. 4 or 5 minutes late. Esconder trying to find a few extra kills on the back side of that, but ultimately it's going to be a relatively even fight in the top side as it's both teams vying for position, vying for advantages, and Team Death Realm hold their own.
Zodium pushing in the bot lane, though, is the major difference in that you have an 80 carry free farming in the side throughout that play. Also 2 for 1 in terms of the kills. This is going to be a free tower as well as 2 for 1 in the kills. A definite win there for TDR. They are definitely back in this game and now ahead in the gold.
Yeah, and I think that with the constant injections of gold that Pyke has been giving, that's actually really big for them. The fact that they've been able to, out of not having those artificial gold injections, actually be able to make up this lead out of purely their gameplay. And as we were mentioning just before that, as the game goes later and later, these macro plays are going to start mattering more and more for Team Death Realm as the game really does become about how you play the map. Kitano looking for maybe a steal onto the blue buff. Will get it, actually. Nice hook over the wall. Will secure a very, very small advantage 4 or 5 minutes late, but now they know where Team Death Realm is, and this dragon is spawning. We should see a fight here. Ezreal's making his way back from base, has 1 item plus the Sheen here, and 5 minutes late, they have the superior position here. Shen in the mid lane has the flank, and we might see what looks to be a collapse here. Bar Grill going to be forced to use the taunt.
Stand United not quite available, so Bargirl needs to be in this fight himself as he is. No shield going to be available for him. This dragon, very important for both these teams. I expect we're going to see a fight break out relatively shortly here as the dance has been started up. Tempered Fate is a little bit wide. Nothing going to come of that. Skill shot's missing right now for TDR. They need to find some kind of a cleaner engage if they want to go for this fight. Dragon also not yet started up, but I think we are on the brink of some violence.
Yeah, barrage from the Ezreal also going to miss as we're getting really a lot of missed skill shots. It is not going to be so for the Shen, though, as he dashes straight in. Beautiful suplex will start the fight off. We see Lotus picking up a kill, as well as now really Ingvar trying to make the most of a bad situation. Esconder uses the ultimate just to get straight on to Shyvana, has the assistance of Bar Grill. Cashew doing so much work, though, will manage to equalize the fight. Mostly, Esconder backing off of Coconut, doesn't want to take a bad Dragon's Breath and end up dead. Bar Grill now clear in vision into Cashew. Also needs to be careful with his positioning around Dragon, and actually an even fight is going to turn into Team Death Realm channeling Rift Herald in the mid lane and trying to make something else happen.
Harold, like you just said, dropped in the mid lane tower, not going to quite go down. I disliked the focus not being on Cashew in that fight. The split off to deal with Shyvana, not what you want to see. Barkrill and Gotti now very, very low. Shyvana, unfortunately, no fireball available. In the end, a pretty even fight. Dragon's still on the table, but it could be going down soon in favor of 5 minutes late. They have superior positioning.
Yeah, Team Death Realm just now showing up, trying to get that mid priority that, as you mentioned, 5 minutes late, just have gotten themselves. Now first rotation into that dragon, and Bar Grill doesn't have a lot of health to speak of in this fight, but we may see them running it back. Gotti is trying to join from having based, but Dragon's already started up for Team Death Realm. Ingvar zoning off. And it is going to be the dragon picked up by the Jinx this time. No smite to speak of. Lotus should go down here. Should get the Jinx excited as well. Will not crit on the last auto and the heal buying so much time. Coconut could go down here. Flash over the wall from Escanor. Will manage to find him, and it is a kill traded for a dragon. And I don't really know who that's in favor of, but Team Death Realm walking away with a little extra gold.
We'll see if that dragon does become important in terms of the dragon soul in this game, or if it is just that little bit of statistical advantage. Another kill going over in favor of his Zodium, too. Should be able to get his Iceborne Gauntlet when he goes back to base. Yes, he will, so he'll have that second item. The gold lead now starting to expand just a little bit. 2,000 now in favor of TDRs. They have gotten themselves very nicely back into this game. This mid lane tower also relatively low, so a strong gust of wind could take that one down if the dedicated push comes through.
Yeah, they should be able to pick up that tower once they manage to pull around the map. Maybe a few members of 5 minutes later. Honestly, if we see 5 minutes late, maybe misalign a little bit of their resources. Fortunately, Acorn being assigned to the mid lane now is going to be that common assignment that we see from AD carries to pick up a little bit more gold. Jinx already having the Infinity Edge, feeling quite strong in this game as she makes her way towards the late game that Jinx is really, really known for, where, as you mentioned in Champions League, she just starts to randomly kill people.
Yeah, I would disagree a little bit with the feeling quite strong assessment. Just an Infinity Edge and a crit cloak. Yeah, the crits hurt a lot, but you don't really have that attack speed. Sure, you can get it with the Get Excited, but she isn't really at that Runean's 2.5, 3 item stage where she really just clicks on the ground and kills people. You do have to still be a lot more careful than you can later on in the game for the Jinx, and she is still behind 0-4. A lot of farm though, so she's keeping pretty even in the gold. We might see a fight here though.
Yeah, Kali's roaming up, and Echo's being left alone in the side lane. Now teleport channeled in the mid lane. Gotti's falling so low, has to use the Haymaker early. And Cashew's looking for a way into this fight. Use the perfect execution. Now trying to find Gotti. Second proc will find him. Now abusing himself of a Zodium a little bit as Escanor manages to get his way out of the team fight. Does still have the Chrono Break available, but his Zodium is really the one who's caught out here. Finds a little bit of a trade onto Ingvar, but has no dashes to speak of. Cashew not able to slow him up just yet. And have to be careful of the poke that can come out of this Ezreal. Should have the Arcane Shift available, but it's really 5 members against 1, and he has no way of surviving this one. Ult over the wall from Kitana will pick him up just with the tip of the death from below there and share a little bit of gold across the team.
Team fighting very, very poor right now for TDR. It looks like they have just kind of lost the thread a little bit in these last couple of fights. Bad positioning. What are you really doing in that fight? Bargrill, your side laner, is right in the middle of the team. He has teleport and stand united available. He needs to be on a side lane for these plays, not just standing with his team. Looked very discoordinated, just not a fight they wanted to take. Ezreal also needed to recall. TDR, I think they just need to regroup, and I think they still are superior in these team fights.
Yeah, a little bit of a mental reset will get them the fights that they're looking for. Obviously, a little bit of misexecution there cost them the team fight, but not much more. The gold's still relatively even as both these teams are going to be vying for superior positioning as we continue along, as these Drakes start spawning, because that's where I think that we're going to see really decisive team fights that change the game, is around these Drakes, where we see both teams consistently grouping up, pushing down towers, getting mid priority, and I feel like both Team Death Realm and 5 minutes late have had a really good play around that objective.
Yeah, the Dragons have been very, very crucial to this series. The Baron, not so much. We haven't really seen top side objectives matter a ton. I'm glad to see the Shen starting to split off into the top lane. I think this could exert a lot of pressure. Ultimate will be up before the Dragon is. Ingvar can match, but I'm not entirely sure Ingvar actually can match the Shen. Sure, he has the teleport to match in that regard, but I'm not entirely sure the 1v1 can really come through up against the Shen.
Yeah, with enough time given over to the Shen, I think that he can certainly make his way into this. Black Cleaver picked up for Garen is really his only item spike, as Gotti really not paying any attention to him, takes a full combo in the river, and really his health bar doesn't show it. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a concentrated push that we talked about by Team Death Realm to secure this tower in the mid lane, though, as I feel like that would be really crucial to them opening up the map.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this turret's been very, very low for a very long time. That's not really something that you want to see. Of course, you wanted it to go down with that Herald push. Wasn't able to do so after the last Dragon. Dragon's Descent just used by Coconut, so a little bit less pressure for a while. Will be off of cooldown, though, when this Dragon spawns. Kitano just fine right there. A nice little bit of positioning, though, gained by TDR at the moment.
Yeah, and with 30 seconds left on the Dragon spawn, Shyvana is doing Krugs doing the Gromp in the top lane. Escanor maybe caught a little bit out, but it is a fight that has a numbers advantage for Team Death Realm. Second, use the Blast Cone to deny that over the wall, and we see a pause as we may have a few connection issues that we certainly don't want for the game. I want to make sure as we get back into this that we are at the same time. 8, 9, 10. Sound good?
Exactly.
Perfect.
I will take it over from here right before the fight comes through. Dragon now on the map. A bit of a dive going on the top lane as well. Bargrill really seems to have been missing the memo with the plan in the side lane. He does still win this fight, though, I'm pretty sure, ironically. But you don't need to be going for a tower dive when your main plan is just to ult away from the lane. I think just a little bit too aggressive. I do like TDR right now. They're getting a lot of poke down in multiple lanes.
Yeah, and 5 minutes late have actually found themselves the turret there in the mid lane, which will translate pretty nicely into Dragon pressure if they want it. Set has already started this Dragon, though, and no real vision to speak of, or vision secure by Team Death Realm in terms of control wards, so they don't know necessarily that 5 minutes late has the knowledge that they've started this.
Echo on the side. Coconut going to get stunned up. Should take a lot of damage. Escanor should be able to get himself away as well. Tempered Fate goes down. Teleport's coming. This is going to be the fight.
Yeah, a little bit of anti-synergy there means that there's a lot of disengage that needs to come through from Team Death Realm. They weren't able to find an engage, but certainly don't need to. They've grabbed themselves the objective already, and they really don't want to fight at this point. We see Bargrill in the top side here, just able to push down this turret. They teleported Garen in by 5 minutes late for really no reason there. A lot of disengage channeled from Team Death Realm, and they get out just fine.
I think that's why they didn't want to fight. I don't think it was as much about not wanting to fight overall. It's just not wanting to fight the 5 versus 4. Escanor wasn't really with the team. He'd spent a lot of cooldowns to go in and try to secure the Dragon, which he was able to do for his team. Coconut was not able to try to go for the steal. A nice Dragon secure. They just run themselves away. Gold dead even right now. This game is really shaping up to be quite a barn burner.
Yeah, this is actually perhaps not what we were expecting when we saw the very solo QS comp. I expected it to be a very snowbally game one way or the other, but both these teams actually showing up a lot as we are pushing towards that 26-minute mark. The game already over last time by this point. And Jinx now, I'm keeping my eye on this win condition, has herself the Runaan's Hurricane as well. I'm looking for her to get maybe that 3rd, maybe 4th item and before we really start seeing her pop off, but my eyes are on it.
I think it's a good place to have your eyes. Keep your eyes on her farm as well. I think really just the lack of farm on both Escanor and Azodi in this game is quite worrying. Jinx 2,000 gold ahead of this Ezreal. Tell a lie, 1,300 gold ahead of this Ezreal, which is not something you would expect to see when she is 0-4. He's 2-3-7. He was getting all that free farm in the bot lane as well. Merman completed though for the Ezreal, still a little bit stronger than the Jinx. Can burst down these champions very, very quickly.
Yeah, and we've actually seen executioners in both games picked up. Azodium now grabbing his own. Last time it was Acorn with one, but Ingvar taking a little bit of a poor trade. Bargrill gonna notice that Coconut is there now and be able to back off, but he's drawing pressure.
Ooh, Baron pings.
And that means Baron's coming up, yeah.
I don't think this will really be taken down. I think just trying to draw some pressure away from the bot lane, which I think is smart. Bargrill still much stronger than Ingvar, 2 levels in the lead as well. Lotus takes some poke. A little bit of a Baron dance has been started up. Escanor probably going to go in. We'll see if we see a fight.
Yeah, nice Tempered Fate forces a lot of flashes, and Coconut looking to dissuade the fight, uses his Dragon's Breath. Now, we see a lot of, again, disengage as 5 minutes late. This time feel like they are the ones that are disadvantaged in this fight. Escanor going to eat a Mega Death Rocket, but not be Mega or dead. Azodium trying to get out of here against Coconut, who's trying to hunt him down on the Dragon. But it's going to be a net no fight. And as you mentioned, it's just that side lane pressure that we see Team Death Realm secure for their own side laner against Ingvar.
I think overall, pretty much a wash on that one. Escanor has to go back to base, but the side lane pressure still in favor of Bargrill. I think you want to try to force some kind of a play on this Baron relatively shortly. No teleport for Ingvar, so he just can't join his team. He can get a 5 versus 4 pretty easily. That's a fight that TDR should be winning all day long, as Kitano going for a bit of a flank.
Yeah, I like that play from the Pike, trying to find a little bit of cheeky pick onto Azodium, who has really been a thorn in the side of 5 minutes late. The fact that they can't really get onto the AD carry has actually been pretty huge for a team that is very dive heavy with the exception of the Jinx, and haven't been able to really find those picks onto the squishier member who doesn't have the safety of people like Bargrill, Gotti, and Escanor.
Absolutely. Lotus with the Dead Man's Plate, one of those popular builds for Bard that doesn't make very much sense, but in the end works out really, really well. So we just got to roll with that. Garen now in the mid lane, trying to group up with his team a little bit. Maybe they'll try to force a 5 versus 5, but Shen unmatched right now in the bot.
Yeah, I like this play from 5 minutes late, trying to, as you mentioned, force a fight. They don't have a whole lot of engage on their side, but maybe trying to get a little bit of global pressure out of the Shen, since he does have both the teleport and the stand united available. Blast Cone going to be used here. Gotti in the middle of the fight, and Azodium is joining from the side. Beautiful Temper Fate, gonna buy so much time though, and Escanor with so much AoE damage. Shen finds a triple kill in the middle of that. Cashew trying to trade back on his own, and actually might be able to 1v3 this. He does an immense amount of damage at this point, but Gotti, so much CC, means that really Cashew is denied any ability at playing the game. Bar Grill has managed to join his team. Finally, we see the stand united used and might be able to take down Aimbar here. The taunt will secure it. That is an ace for Team Death Realm as they find themselves a beautiful team fight. Now the Baron.
A disaster of a play right there. 4 or 5 minutes late. The Tempered Fate, beautiful for Lotus, allowing Bargirl to get fully onto the team. We saw a taunt across multiple members of 5 minutes late. All the AoE coming through. Escana or Gotti, all of these members. The True Shot Barrage as well. Huge swaths of damage coming out from TDR. That was the fight that they needed to get a clean ace for themselves and the Baron on all 5 members.
Yeah, now they've backed right off the Baron, have the Drake spawning in 6 seconds, and they can just run over there and deny this from 5 minutes late.
Likely, everyone's just kind of chilling in the base right now. This is kind of fun. I guess they're all waiting for gold. That it looked like everyone had like DC'd, and we were just kind of chilling. But in the base for a while, True Shot Barrage wildly early. I guess they just don't really know where everybody is. They may end up conceding this Dragon Tell alive. They're teleporting in. Yeah,
teleport from Shen will actually make sure that the dragon isn't started. The Ezreal ultimate going to make sure that it isn't. Spirit's Refuge actually going to buy Bar Grill so much time. He is ridiculously tanking.
Oh my God.
3 items under his belt. Really not taking any damage to speak of. Word over the wall from 5 minutes late to keep an eye on this dragon. They might go for a steal here, but this is very much a story of victory for Team Death Realm as they have the superior positioning. They have more gold on their side, and it's a winning team fight by all means.
Certainly is. There's Dragon's Ascent used by Coconut. Tempered Fate out of that jungle. They should be able to burst this dragon down. Here comes the fight.
Yeah, nice Tempered Fate there by so much time, but now it's Bar Grill finds a beautiful taunt onto 2 members. That's going to be 2 going down already. Coconut soon to follow. Escanor forced to use the ultimate as Cashew's trying to hunt him down. They can't get anything done. He's just too slippery. Garen literally doing absolutely zero in the middle of the team fight as Kitano looks to try and stop this, but he only stops 1 member. Actually stuns up 4 as he's trying to get away. Finds a single kill in response. Shares a little bit of gold, but really it is just Cashew, who I expect to be dying at this point. Escanor flashes straight onto him, managed to get the blink as well. Double kill for the Echo, and yet another ace for Team Death Realm.
It's like a switch has been flipped, Diatriba, in this game. Team Death Realm really coming online in these last 2 fights, finally far enough ahead to let their comp do its work in these fights. Azodium kept himself safe. A beautiful save on that Stand United as well from Bar Grill to use it on his AD carry when the Akali tried to go for that assassination, try to turn that fight around. The base has now been broken open.
Yeah, now that they have this inhibitor turret, they're going to be able to put on even more pressure, and all the other lanes using the Baron really well in order to break open the base. Should be able to transition this perhaps into a top lane as 5 minutes late, frantically trying to get a band-aid on all of this, clearing out minions that are in their base, and should force the recalls out of Team Death Realm.
I like the recalls here from TDR, that they have a lot of gold in pocket. I think around 7,000 or 8,000 gold in the inventories right now total. That needs to go get spent. That's the majority of the gold lead right now is in inventory. It's not in items. I expect them to reset, make those final purchases, and then get themselves back onto the map for a final push.
Yeah, and right now I'm keeping a look on the items for Team Death Realm as I want to see where that gold ends up going. We just see really a tank item completed for the Shen. I think Ezreal needs a little bit more gold. We might see him be able to finish either his armor pen item or the Death Dance, which I think would be the superior spike. There we go.
Yeah, Death Stance and inventory, that is definitely what you want to go on Ezreal. Armor Pen third was, so Season 8 on Ezreal. Definitely the Death Stance. It's a great tank item. It's a great damage item. It's basically the Ornn of items, I would say, at this point in League of Legends Season 10. So a very, very strong composition. It's only Echo that's not on 3 items. He's going to recall. He should be completing that item for himself. That's the Zonia's Hourglass, as Bargirl could be in a little bit of trouble, but as we saw earlier, quite tanky teleports coming in.
Yeah, this is so much effort invested into Bargirl, who realistically is not going going to care at all. Cashew's trying to make the fight happen, but everybody else on 5 minutes late forced to retreat here. Is now Ingvar going to be left alone with 4 members. Escanor looking for the chase forward onto Acorn. Should be able to find him here. A nice taunt from Bar Grill to secure it. And now it's really going to be Coconut, who is the next person on the chopping block. Gotti chasing down Kitano, but this Pike not going to be able to do anything. This should be the end of the game for Team Death Realm, as another awkward shot call from 5 minutes late should be the final mistake to end the game.
I think that really was what brought this team down overall in this series, Diatripa. They just weren't quite as crisp on the macro, not quite as crisp on what they wanted to do. These Nexus Towers now under fire. Kitano, nothing to do.
Yeah, at this point, a Pike with a lot of gold in his pocket really isn't doing anything and has not really anybody to speak of to help him out. Cashew going to be spawning just now that it could try and bring this back. Perfect Execution not yet available, though. Looks for a little bit of damage onto Escanor, who just ults straight out away from his face, and a little bit of skirmishing will spell the end of that game. Team Death Realm walk away with the 2-0 at the end of the day.
Yeah, very, very clean series by TDR. This game looked a little bit closer, but I think that was more so just in contrast to the previous game, right? Which was 25 minutes, looked so not close. This one looked more like a League of Legends game, but in the end, it is TDR that came out on top. A little bit of superior shot calling. They finally found their one fight, and from there, they took the game.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed watching that from TDR, because the fact that it was kept even for so long meant that we really got to see the strength in the shot calling, because last game, it could have been a lot of things, right? We saw a very awkward draft from 5 minutes late that they really couldn't execute on. This time, I felt like they actually felt more comfortable with what we thought was a little bit more of an awkward draft, actually finding some team fights in their favor, and it was ultimately, like you say, the macro from Team Death Realm that I feel really won them this game, and it's nice to see that specific difference being the line between victory and defeat.
Yeah, absolutely. In that play, Bar Grill, he tanked all 5 members for 5-10 seconds and ended up at about 55% HP, and that's really what happens when you have a Shen that's this late game. He's almost 4 items. They finally hit those power spikes, and it was really that 3 items versus 2 items situation that really spelled the doom there for 5 minutes late. Those 2 team fights were enough money to allow TDR to go back to the base, get that 3rd item. That's the major power spike. It's kind of like Monopoly. You put that 3rd house on, those rents really are zooming through the roof. And of course, League of Legends and Monopoly, very, very similar in that respect. Get those 3rd items, you win the game.
Yeah, and this time we did not see 5 minutes late passing go. They did not collect $200, and it was Team Death Realm that walked away with the win tonight. That's going to be all for today's Style Esports Season 5. Week 2, Day 8. We've got it all nailed down, but if you're looking to see more of us, please check out our Discord. It's got all the information on all the games that are going to be happening. Check us out on Twitter, and we are going to be back here almost every single day bringing you hard-hitting League of Legends. That's all from me. Thank you so much for joining me, Jarl Carl. Thank you to Tori for running productions, and of course, thank you to all of you for tuning in for some excellent gameplay.